Hi, I'm Edwin.
And I am Jack, and welcome back
To the 950 Club.
Woo-hoo.
Woohoo! And today on the 950 Club, we'll be talking about two different, very, how do I put this? Relevant?
Extremely.
To the current geopolitical situation that we have going on right now.
Unfortunately.
This wasn't something that we had planned this to do. We had planned to do this back in January. We talked about this before any of this situation had turned out.
Yeah, because we didn't expect to be this relevant.
No, we didn't. The reason we picked the shows that we picked are the 86 and Vivy, Fluorite Eyes Song.
Yes.
And in picking the 86, we picked that because
it was nominated for Best Anime of the Year through Crunchyroll.
Yeah, so we wanted to find out. It wasn't something I had watched, I think, the first episode a few times, and I struggled to get into it. So it's not something that I watched last year. But because it was nominated, I told Jack, maybe we should go back and try to give this a chance.
Yeah, it is pretty much like voted by the fans kind of thing, because I remember initially seeing it and being nominated and stuff, and you get to see the comments from a lot of fans and stuff. And of course, it was nominated against, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, things like that. And then sure enough, the general reaction is like 86, the best one. I'm like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Where does this come from? Like, the only thing I saw at a bookstore was the light novel. That is it. And I'm like, that's quite fascinating. I wonder why it's getting so much praise.
Well, the original light novel series, this show is based on a light novel series written by Asado and illustrated by Shirabi. When she was writing it, her influences were drone warfare.
Oh, yeah.
And the movie The Mist.
Of all things.
I know, the Stephen King. And I can see when they're on their own, the Legion does remind me of the creatures from the other dimension.
Yeah, kind of mixed in with Starship Troopers, too. This unknown enemy, like this literal mystery.
Oh, there's a lot of, I don't know if that was intentional.
No.
But you can see a lot of echoes of Starship Troopers.
Yeah. And I didn't even think about that until now, because initially, the tone and feel for it, how it's set up in a way to, it's almost like going through boot camp, like any kind of boot camp movie you can think of. Jarhead, Full Metal, Jacket. I was about to say Full Metal Alchemist.
There's a lot of Full Metal. Yeah.
And Panic too.
Yeah.
But basically, those films have a tone where it's anti-war. That's pretty much like the feel and gist of it. Like, these aren't your heroes kind of thing.
Yeah. Where the 86, I think it's more about the wages of war.
Yeah, and the actual reality of war, too, I would argue.
Well, I think the sins.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sins that we commit in sending off people to war, any kind of war for any kind of reason.
Yeah, and that's how it's set up, literally, because you get one side of the commander and then the other side of the grunts, the people that are actually doing the battles.
Well, it starts out, so let's lay the groundwork for the audience.
Yeah.
The 86 starts out as a show about drones. You have one of the main characters, Vladilena Milise, also known as Lena, later known as the Major, Bloody Regina. So she is a commander in the army of the Federation.
Or is it the Republic?
The Republic, you're right. I'm wrong.
No. Make sure.
She's a captain. She's a commander in the army of the Republic, and she is what you would call a handler. And one of the things that the Republic prides itself on is fighting the Legion, who are a army of autonomous robots that have essentially destroyed the kingdom that created them.
Yeah.
And so now they're running amok. The Republic is at war with them. And what they advertise to their people is that they're using autonomous robots to fight the other autonomous robots. That's all a lie. And part of the show is the commander finding out that's all a lie. And this show slowly peels back her naivete and the bubble in which she lives. And it's those revelations that that are part of one of the best parts of the show.
Yeah, and she's not too naive. There's a sense of like I've seen it firsthand kind of thing, but you still can't grasp. And for the setup as well for the show, like it's a nice beginning with the first episode because you get to see the Republic. It's almost like quintessentially Europe in its glory. And this is a perfect place to live in. And all she's doing is just going to her command headquarters, passing by all the top officers in the military, and you get that sense of like, okay, I'm in another day in my life. Not necessarily.
No, this is kind of like the first day of the rest of her life.
Yeah,
where she discovers these things. She discovers what's going on, and they do a lot of establishing shots of the Republic, of how happy their citizens are,
and the media saying, "Oh, we're doing great." La la la.
Yeah, this war. Yeah, we're gonna win this war. There's a lot of propaganda.
Propaganda to the T.
Yeah.
And Starship Troopers is pretty much like the ethos of it is propaganda.
Yeah. It's like, hey, war,
this is great. We're kicking butt.
We're doing fine. Nobody's dying. Nobody's being sacrificed.
No, you don't have to worry about that. We'll take care of this before tomorrow.
Yeah, and then that's the general idea behind drone warfare.
Yeah.
Is like none of our guys are getting hurt.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, yeah. So as she meets and discovers that these aren't drones that she's controlling. These are actual human beings.
Yeah.
These are people. One of the main themes behind the show, which is racism.
Yep. And warfare-wise, similar to World War II with Hitler's ideology of the Aryan race.
Yeah. The Alba. They're called the Alba. They have white hair, like white eyelashes. They're completely white, and they have white hair.
And you can tell they're definitely the higher ups right off the bat, how they're designed and is dressed up and living this republic, this carefree republic in a weird way.
They're the only race that control the republic.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see anybody else.
Nope.
It's all one race.
And then all the other ones, like any other color you can think of, skin-wise and hair-wise, they're fighting the war.
Yeah, they're known as the 86.
Yes.
Where the title of the show comes from.
And that's like a district, right?
Yeah, that's the district that they've all been relegated to. Yeah, and so they've essentially been put into concentration camps, and their only way to escape that is to fight. Or so she believes. For
a period, I would say maybe like 2 or 3 years or something.
Yeah, it's a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But that's another revelation. The show has a series of revelations.
One by one. And like I said, how it's set up, you see the commander side, and then you see the grunts. It's literally that. Like, first half is focused with Lena, and the second half is concentrated on this particular group of the 86.
Yeah, the show's broken down into like almost this back and forth.
Yeah.
Because these two groups are separated and they don't really meet on screen. It's kind of an interesting storytelling device.
In a weird way, it kind of reminds me of Call of Duty or just like online gaming in general. Like you fight your own battles kind of thing together, but in separate environments.
Well, it's even weirder because it would be like if you weren't fighting at all, but you were telling other people on your team what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is like really strange.
Well, it could be future for all we know, and it technically is here, unfortunately. Yeah. So it's just that's why it's so eerily relevant today. And unfortunately, what's happening.
Well, I mean, you have drone pilots now, people who are controlling these drones from a distance.
Yes.
And this show takes that to an extreme degree, where she's controlling multiple units.
And mind you, she's like the first one to actually care.
Yeah.
Well, you get that initially because she's ready to.
The Alba are in a strange position because of what they've done to the 86.
Yes.
And it's so the propaganda has essentially said that they don't exist.
It's only robots.
Yeah, there's only robots fighting this war. She discovers that it's not robots. It's actual human beings in the machines fighting the robots. And there's a revelation about the Legion itself that comes later on.
Yeah.
But right now, she is dealing with Shin and the other members of the 86.
The spearhead outfit.
And they're fighting essentially to become free. And you come to the realization that there is no freedom for these people.
No, not even with their outfit, because there's a horrific way to, not essentially be part of the enemy.
So we have to get into like what it means when they die, because Shin is
he's nicknamed the Gravedigger.
Yeah, the Gravedigger, and there's a reason for that, and that gets into why the 86 were essentially killed in the first why they were relegated to this status in the first place.
Yeah.
The Alba discover that some of the 86 are actually able to communicate telepathically with each other.
And yes, it's kind of eerie.
It's very eerie, and it gets really bad for them.
Yes.
So essentially they start cutting these people open to find out how this works so that they can essentially use the technology to fight war. And that's what they do.
Yeah, to upgrade in a weird way too.
Well, the communication device that she uses, allows her to hear them and reach them over long distances.
Yeah.
Without the traditional communications that can be blocked.
Yeah.
This can't be. And so they're essentially experimented on, stripped of everything they have, put in these concentration camps, and then sent off to fight and die for the sake of the Alba and the Republic, without any choice in the matter.
Yep.
And then it gets worse.
Yeah, a lot worse.
Because as they discover, as they're fighting the Legion is growing stronger, and they're not sure why. The Republic doesn't know this because the Republic doesn't care.
It's almost like they put the war on autopilot.
They really did.
Yeah.
They kind of tuned it out.
Yeah.
They tuned it out and made it somebody else's problem. And while that was happening, because there's a timetable, the propaganda timetable for the war is 2 years.
Yes.
The war will be over in 2 years because there are no more. They believe that the number of Legion units will be exhausted within the 2 years. The problem is that the Legion found a way to keep going.
Yeah.
And the way it found to keep going was it needed more processors for its units to put into its soldiers, its machines, and the processors are human heads.
Yes, and that's how they upgrade in a weird way, because they can get through like the source knowledge of these perished troops.
Yeah.
And it's horrific.
So essentially what the Legion was doing is taking these dead soldiers' heads and putting them into the Legion machines. Shin knows this. He can hear their voices, and it's probably due to the fact that he has that telepathic ability.
He's the leader of the spearhead, and for good reason, because he's the best of the bunch.
Well, not only is he the best of the bunch, but he has this special talent that allows him to hear the voices, I think, telepathically of the Legion.
Yeah.
Of these soldiers, of these 86 that have been essentially killed and repurposed by the Legion. And it's tragic.
It's tragic, and it's also very close to home for Shin.
Yeah.
And Shin, unfortunately, has a connecting link to these voices. Let's put it that way. Because for the first half of the season, you get to feel that he's the best of the bunch without regard, and he's doing his job effectively. But there is a deeper meaning into why he's attacking these mysterious robots.
His quest, because his brother left to fight in order to be free, and he was claimed by the Legion.
Yep.
And he's been running around in a Legion. Essentially, his mind has been running around in a Legion machine, killing other 86.
Yeah.
And so Shin's quest is to put a stop to that by killing his brother. essentially setting him free.
Yeah.
And that's the high cost of Shin's essentially service to the 86 and to the Republic, because what he does is that he kills any soldier that's injured, that's too injured to bring back to the barracks. They won't survive. He ends them.
Yeah, and thus the term Undertaker. Like he's there to put them rest in peace,
He has a special gun that he uses to shoot them in the head.
eliminate any chance for the Legion to override it.
It's really dark.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the ultimate. One of the main themes of the show, like war is real. Like this is, there are consequences. These are what they have to see, and they do the dirty work.
But I like that the show doesn't it doesn't stay there.
No, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
I agree there.
Yeah, there's always, even as dark as the show gets, and as it deals with these themes, these different themes of racism and death.
And current politics, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
there's still a level of hope.
Well, you get to build this kind of hope for this outfit, because little by little, each episode, you get to see a little bit more of how they deal with it.
Yeah,
because
their struggle.
Yeah, and this is why I bring up Jarhead, because Jarhead's a good example tonally of how to watch this, because Jarhead, it's about this Iraq soldier stationed there, and he's a Marine. He's trained to kill. Like, he can't wait to kill. But guess what? Iraq is a different beast. In the first Iraq war, not a lot of conflicts. Pretty much everything was taken care of anyway. And this build up, ultimately the war was with each other and himself, dealing with why he's such a killing machine.
Yeah.
And these are similar with this outfit, with the Spearhead group. Each has a personality where they just want to deal with the elements and just be with each other.
Yeah.
And especially with the Undertaker, because that's like their ultimate goal, to make sure they follow their leader to the bitter end.
Well, I think the weight of what he's done and had to do in his life weighs on Shin a lot.
Extremely.
And once he killed his brother, he set him free from his prison within the machine, I think he felt at peace.
Yeah.
And he felt ready to move on.
Yep.
And that's another one of the revelations. Oh man, this show.
I know.
Man, it's like one gut punch after the other.
And I didn't really expect it, to be honest. I thought it'd be pretty much like the first episode, like cut and dry. This is the future. Deal with it.
When I sat down, and I've been thinking about this for a little while, because some of the more recent shows that we've been covering, I think that I found a nice, comfortable place
In a weird way.
in my in watching Slice of Life and Isekai, where I don't have to think about a lot of the things that are going on, especially with like Laid Back Camp.
Oh, of course.
It's nice and comfortable. And with these shows, it reminds me, like when we covered Psychopaths.
It invaded.
These shows remind me more of like when I first got into anime.
Yeah.
Like with Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell, pretty much like the ultimate granddaddy.
Yeah, more like these are more like social commentary on like what's going on in the world.
Yes, very much so.
And then especially with
technology as well. That's a key factor too.
Well, I think with
Paranoia, or
like with Paranoia Agent and Brand New Animal, there's definitely these social issues that get covered that don't really get covered in
anime,
in American animation.
That as well, yes.
But there's definitely room for them to be explored in Japanese animation and anime. Like someone was commenting, I was watching these shows and somebody was commenting on the music, and they're like, the music really fits with the nature of what's going on with the show. And I'm like, yeah.
I would agree wholeheartedly. And those were nominated for both scores, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, both of these shows have an amazing score.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad, tragic, moving music.
Yeah, 86, it kind of like blurs in the beginning, and opening and closing I'm not too crazy about. But by the second half, or the second part of the 86, the music is finally has some breathing room. And once you follow on the story, you'll find out why he's giving that room.
Yeah, like the section that we were the episodes in the show that we were just talking about are when they're given their final mission. And apparently, essentially what happens is that each group of 86 are promised their freedom, but most of them end up dying fighting the Legion, and the ones who survive are sent on a special mission. Essentially, they're sent into enemy territory to die.
Yeah, and the whole thing of the outfit, unfortunately, and for every outfit in the 86, it's suicide missions.
Yeah, well, because the Republic doesn't want any other nation to know what they've done to the 86.
Yeah.
It's a cover-up.
Yeah, and how they find out through Lena and her research, because she's the only one that's trying, literally that connecting link between both worlds.
Well, she's fighting for them because she's grown to understand that they're people, B, that they have their own hopes and dreams, and C, that this is what the Republic has done to them is horrifying.
And it's also testing her limits because the outfit literally can't trust her because they've been screwed and screwed.
Oh, yeah, well, because this is what the Republic has done to them. Put them in internment camps and dangled freedom to them, in this way. And
a whole generation's worth.
Yeah, and they've come to understand that that's a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lie. They know why they're there. They're there to die.
And they weirdly accept it because they have honor, they have pride. And with Shin especially, Shin is pretty much, he's the leader of the leaders kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, he's taken that mantle upon himself. He's kind of taken the role of protecting them from a future as, servants in these machines, which is absolutely horrifying. And not only that, he carries he takes their dog tags.
Yeah.
Yeah, he takes their dog tags and carries with them and promises them a burial, which is in a way delivered later on in the show.
Yeah, and there's a setup with that because, like you said, the suicide missions is still a singular goal for everybody.
Yeah.
And it was like, I believe it was Raiden. He's the second in command, is Robin, if you will. Really cool guy. He's basically like, wherever Gravedigger or wherever Undertaker goes, we will go.
We'll follow.
We will follow.
And they do till the very end.
Yeah, and it's set up. First part is really good, really good.
Yeah, that first season.
Because it's almost like a chase.
Yeah.
And you think it'd be only like a battle sequence thing, but at the end you're like, yeah.
With those back and forth moments between when they're talking to the Major, when they're talking to Lena, and how they pretend not to hate her, but they struggle. They don't have time for her sometimes.
Yeah, and she's idealistic, and that's also one of the themes of the show is pretty much Lena's presence in this world or war-like environment. I was telling Edwin this, like one of the review videos I saw. I forgot the name of the user, but basically the title was "Armchair Politics Explained" through 86. I'm like, ooh, that's tough. That is a tough subject.
Well, she, I think, is disabused of her delusions.
Yeah.
Real fast.
And that's a big factor. I do admit that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, with her, like I said, with her link between both worlds, it's almost like she has to translate to the outer masses what's really going on.
She is, on both sides, she gets kind of, she has to be essentially told what it is, what's really going on both sides of the conflict.
Yes, yes.
She's told by the 86 how their situation is.
Yeah.
She's kind of like the stand-in for the audience.
Yeah.
And she gets told from both sides what the reality of this situation is. Whether it be from her uncle, who's, an admiral in the military, or whether it be the grunts in the 86, she's there in the middle.
Yeah.
And they pretty much tell her, this is what you're dealing with.
I actually admit that's part of the humor of the show because they just school her. And they send pleasantries, but one of them, Laughing Fox, one of the members, he likes to draw, and he draws like a
pig.
a pig.
Yeah, they know them as the white pigs.
Yeah, and it's like their stance on them. And she, for Lena especially, she's the 6th officer in their unit, and she's dressed up like a pig princess.
Yeah, she is there. Well, that's their derogatory reference. That's the derogatory term for the handlers that,
Yeah.
well, essentially for the 80, for the Alba that have
Overtaken them.
imprisoned them and
Yep.
sent them off to die.
Yeah, yeah. And it's almost like this outfit has no choice. They can't go back and they can't go forward. They can only go forward, ironically, to blaze, blaze a fire and death.
Yeah.
And well,
And we think that for a second, you think that, yeah, that's it. That's what they got. And then, oddly enough, they don't die.
no.
Yeah.
Well, a chance of fate. And it happens to be with Shin's brother. Because, he, like we mentioned, explained and elaborated over the Legion, there comes a battle between brothers.
Yes.
And Shin, puts up a good fight, and his comrades are ready to die. But out of nowhere comes the Federation.
Yeah. So essentially, what happens is that they actually survive their impossible mission and make it to another nation. And that other nation is very curious about them.
Yeah, almost like they're treating them like aliens.
Yeah.
And
It's very, yeah. There's a moment where you believe that they've been captured by the Legion.
Yeah.
There's a little bait and switch there that the show does.
Oh, yes.
That I thought was very effective.
Extremely.
I wasn't expecting what we got.
Yeah, I was expecting them to be kind of like, well, initially, yeah, I was expecting them to be kind of like refugees. Like,
Well, the show makes you think that Shin and the others are going to be turned into Legion,
yeah,
essentially, or that they died, but that Shin in some way is going to become a Legion. His head is going to be cut off and put into a Legion machine.
unfortunately.
Yeah, but there's a bait and switch where which was kind of a curveball. Yes, that was the way to do a second season.
Yeah.
To give them, and man, is it heartbreaking and bittersweet because you realize the life that they're coming from, and now they've been rescued by another nation, the Federation.
Yeah.
And this is essentially the government that defeated the Empire, and in their defeating of the Empire, set the Legion essentially loose on the rest of the world unintentionally.
Unintentionally.
Because the Empire created the Legion to use secretly on other nations.
It's similar to a certain country.
Yep. And so when they did that, they had to be stopped. And so the Federation essentially destroyed the Empire.
Yep.
And took over. And so now they've rescued the 86, the 5 remaining members of the 86, the Spearhead Squadron. And the transition is so strange, but it's so sad too.
Yeah.
Because the president of the Federation, Ernst, is essentially takes them in as his children.
Yeah, he's kind of goofy and cute about it.
He's very goofy. But when he learns about their situation and what the Republic has done to them, he's just disgusted.
Yeah, he's similar to Lena in a way that, there's this weird, a respectable approach with it, but he's still naive in the sense of what they really went through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think anybody who hasn't experienced it fully would understand it completely.
Oh yeah, a million times. And this is modern day warfare, unfortunately, from Kosovo. This idea of refugees, you can only see in their eyes, kind of thing.
What they've been through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and these are the soldiers who have fought the battles.
Yes.
And so he gives them, and they're teenagers.
Yeah.
Shin is 16.
And he's seen a lot of shit.
Oh yeah. And so Ernst gives them essentially a life.
Yeah.
He gives them a home with food and bedding. He gives them, the freedom to explore their lives and what they want to do. And he tells them, like, this is your life now. You don't have to fight. And watching them go, just the normality of the Federation, It seems like modern day Japan,
Yeah.
which I found a little bit weird in
Oh,
this show.
and we keep on bringing Ghost in the Shell. It reminded me of the new Tokyo of Ghost in the Shell. Because
I
yeah,
can kind of see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also there's this one cool scene with uh, gunslinger Corinna. She's in a shop and she's trying out these nice clothes, but in the background they have these drones,
A parade.
a parade for the drones for the Federation, and it's like commonplace, and you still feel uneasy, like it's still a war propagated with space.
Yeah. Well, I think that the fight calls to them,
Yeah,
and so here you see a bunch of different people living together, all different colors. It doesn't matter. It's just normal everyday life. It was very hard to see them trying to adjust to it. You can see that they're not comfortable.
yeah,
But like this is, and it's so, I don't know how to put this. For me, I almost cried because to see these people get this, to get a normal life, having seen the life that they had, or could have, being forced to fight, and now that here they are just living normal everyday lives. It was like that. It was like, wow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was a powerful moment in the show. They can't do it.
yeah.
They can't do it. In their minds, their work isn't done.
A good example of that too is Fourth of July, the movie with Tom Cruise, about the Vietnam War, being at home. What you've seen is what you've seen. How society treats you after you become a hero, quote unquote. There's things where you can't help but think about modern day veterans from
Yeah.
every country. And I even have a friend that second Iraq War. I mean, he's one of the nicest and sweetest people I ever met. And how he learned or what he've done over there, it doesn't change the person at all. You just grow from it.
Yeah. Well, it adds a different layer on this because these are also child soldiers.
Yes, yes.
Children soldiers who have been given guns and said, "Here, go fight for us."
Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much the ethos of 86. It's kind of weird how it's set up because, of course, with that first episode, Shin has to do the unruly deed
The
of
unthinkable, yeah.
unthinkable to his own outfit because
To
of
his friends,
yeah, and whoever dies.
his comrades, yeah.
Yeah, even when he's with the Federation working for them. And this is part of his responsibility as a soldier and a commander. And you don't think he's similar to Colonel Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist because he's a straight up military guy, the guy you go through. Levi from Attack on Titan, very, very cool, very sleek. But at the same time, you don't think he would be that traumatized doing these motions, but he is.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I totally thought like he was traumatized. Well, the 86 at the end of the day is about Shin's psychology.
Yeah.
At first, it's about the relationship between the major and the group,
Yeah.
Lena. But at the end of the day, this show is about him and what he goes through in the wages of war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having to the weight, and he carries these people with him psychologically of all the people that he's put down.
Yeah.
He carries the weight of them, and they're with him. Those ghosts walk with him. There's moments where it gets to be a lot.
Yeah.
Even for the viewer, you're just like you're kind of blown away by his strength and his ability to keep doing this, and you see him start to break down.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite aspects of the show because it actually has a build up like that. You would expect like space battles, fighting robots. Go on. I want another battle. For me, like each battle, I'm like, I don't want to see this. This is horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a weight. The battles are hard to watch.
Yeah, very.
It's rough because I think the stakes, those little machines, and the stakes are so high.
Yeah.
Because they really do. The show does a really good job of making each character human.
Yeah.
Like the little moments that you get, like in the first season, when the girls are trying to take a bath in that, they're trying to swim in that pool over by the waterfall.
and that was like the only beach episode.
Yep, and the boys are trying to peek on them, and so they beat them up.
Yeah.
And then you get them playing with the cat or trying to relax after a battle.
Yeah, that cat was much needed, and Fido the robot.
There's a lot of quiet moments in this show where you get to see them, you get to learn about the characters and what they've been through. And so when you do get to the battle scenes that are pretty intense and
Yeah.
pretty well done,
Yeah.
you care for the characters and you don't want them to die. And you're like, you can't, how are they going to make it? How are they going to do this?
I know.
Yeah.
I like how you mentioned the slow moments, because during that chase, when they're about to go for their freedom in the blaze of glory, they settled in with these ghost towns.
Yeah.
And it's eerily, it feels like almost like a Western. These quiet moments where they're just by themselves. And this is where I mentioned earlier with the music, because I'm like, when I heard the music for the first time, like, this could have been my favorite, soundtrack for last year.
The score was amazing.
Yeah. So the perfect direction was perfect with that. And even when they go through the Federation with their battles too, it never ends, but you're along with the journey with these survivors.
Yeah.
And the outfit in the beginning is a lot, and that says a lot, unfortunately.
Well, they essentially become used again.
Yeah.
It's this time it's by choice.
Yes.
They decide to join the military, the Federation's military. So, but there are a lot of moments where the military commanders call them monsters.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
Yeah.
They kill.
And compared to the Republic, where they just berate them, it's just straight up hate.
In the Republic, they treat them like animals that don't exist.
Non-human.
Yeah, they essentially call them. I believe there's a point where they're like subhuman, and in the media they just pretend that they don't exist.
Exactly.
And they're essentially exterminating them and committing genocide.
Yeah. And then with the Federation, like we mentioned, how they're pretty much like alien, like, oh, we'll take care of you kind of thing. There's like a weird, this isn't right. Like, we're the ones dealing with this crap, not you.
Well, because in their minds, no matter what age they are, they're soldiers.
Yeah.
They're soldiers who've committed to this battle and seeing it through to the end.
Yeah.
And they don't want the Federation's concern. They don't want their pity. They just want to do what they want to do, which is finish the fight.
Yeah. And the fight is coming.
Yeah.
And as of this recording, like me and Edwin's surprise, this show is still continuing.
Yeah, the show, well, 2 seasons, 1 last year, 1 this year. So, yeah, this show isn't done.
Yeah. And it's had a long stretch. We're talking from last spring.
Yeah.
And I think they've had like specials in between, which are cute. We would recommend them. But anyway, the second part like has a good first few episodes. Then you're back with the battles and stuff.
Well, you're introduced to a few new characters like Ernst.
Yeah. And
and Frederica.
The Brady princess.
Well, the Empress of the Empire.
Yeah.
And her quest, which is very Shin-like in that she wants to find the knight that took care of her.
Almost like a bodyguard.
Yeah. So that's her quest because essentially that's her big brother.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you start to get into more of this theme of loss.
Yeah.
Because she gets to the point where she doesn't care about finding this person on the battlefield. All she cares about is whether or not Shin dies because she's grown close to him.
Yeah, and connections as well, because she relates with the knight with what Shin is going through, and
well, because she saw it in the knight.
Yeah.
She saw it in him, in that character, Kiriya Nozen. She sees him reflected. And she sees Shin going in that direction, and she's worried about him.
Yeah.
And man, talk about when he's chanting that chant that just wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
It was like, that was disturbing, but it was right out of like Star Wars and Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I think if they had done that in that movie, it would have been way more effective, because when he starts chanting, "I will kill you," over and over and over again, I'm like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, and like I like how you mentioned how this show is ultimately about Shin and psychology, how he's dealing with the war psychologically.
Yeah.
Yeah, hearing voices in his head from dead soldiers to the enemy too.
Yeah, psychologically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because they're able to communicate telepathically, he carries them with him. And Federica even has a special ability where she's able to see someone's present and their past.
Yeah, and with the connections, like I tried to mention, because with the how Federica's with the knight is also connected with Shin. Yeah, and that's like a twist. I won't spoil, but it's like okay.
Well, their obsession with each other, they become rivals.
Yes.
On the battlefield, and almost like brothers. and that fight to destroy each other on the battlefield, and it was this desire to defend someone
Yeah.
that becomes warped into this desire to kill each other.
Yep. Which is sad. And in the first part, of course, Shin facing his brother because his brother's part of the Legion. It's not his brother anymore, technically. And so, with those connections, it's very close to home kind of thing, which is sad. So, that's the reality of war. That's pretty much like 86's like ultimate like message. Like, this is not fake.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to what you were commenting on, those empty towns that they saw.
Yes.
Because on their march toward their quest to destroy the Knight and the machine, essentially, that he's been inserted into, full morpho rail cannon.
Yeah.
The rail gun, the mobile rail gun.
Almost like a nuke for them. Yeah.
Yeah, which is very insect-like.
And it's disturbing as heck. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. I could see the connections to the Mist in the design for the rail gun with its wings and its tentacles. And
this is very underrated movie. Like, if you guys haven't seen it with Thomas Jane, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or you read the book mostly.
Read the book.
The movie's all right. Oh man.
No comment. No comment.
Edwin's not a Thomas Jane fan.
It's not that I'm not my qualms with that movie are not about Thomas Jane. Okay?
He's the best Punisher too. I said it.
I'm not having this discussion.
I could just hear Jamal being like, "What?"
Oh, Jamal's gonna call you out on that. But we digress.
We digress.
So going back to what I wanted to say about that is when they're making their long march through the empty towns and everything, and you see these beautiful shots of nature, and Frederica makes this comment about how much better off the world would be without humans, and it's a very like, wow.
It's true.
It would be a better place without war.
That's
sure.
True. The nature of humans, as they were,
and that's what she's talking about: the nature of war and the nature of humans, and how we get into these situations.
Yeah, even the Federation President Ernst, he had a comment too, like Laughing Fox was basically like, "You should just kill us, and it'd be easier." And Ernst is like, "Yeah, it would, but that wouldn't be humane," and that's the point.
Well, he talks about the morality of sending children off to die in battle without a way out. Yep. There's no, because the mission that they're on, he gets upset because it's a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And he's like, why are you even giving this as an option to them?
Yeah.
This shouldn't even be an option to these children.
I know.
And he's upset because it's like, we're sending children off to fight. It's like, there's something morally wrong with that.
Yeah.
And he makes the ultimate, says, if we do this, if we send them on this suicide mission without a way, if we don't give them a way to get home, if we can't help them escape from this, then we don't have the right to exist.
Yeah.
Because how are we any better than the Republic?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so weird about the show too, because I didn't expect it to be like this resonant with the characters.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
When I saw like the trailer, I'm like, okay, there's a cute chick in a military outfit.
Yeah, it had a feel of like Full Metal Panic, where just like big robot battles, but also kind of like a sweet.
There's definitely mecha in here, not to the degree
of Full Metal Panic. No,
it feels a lot more like Star Wars in that this is a lived in. So like the Juggernauts are a lot more like X-wings.
Yeah, and the spider like, and they're similar in design to the Legion.
Yeah, they're very similar to the Legion, but they're more like, I wouldn't compare them to like the mecha from other shows.
No.
The mech robot suits, these are more like X-wings.
Yeah.
And they're also more like X-wings in that they've been used and abused.
Yeah.
They have that very like lived in feel.
And that's also a theme of the show, like, support, supplies.
Yeah.
Like, we need all the support we can get.
Well, Fido, like you mentioned Fido, and
Fido is like a Barrett. He's kind of like a supply drone.
Yeah, he's very much, but he's also very much like R2-D2.
Yeah. He's one of the best characters too.
The way he is. The way he follows Shin around like a dog.
Oh.
It's very, the loyalty is very cute.
And then my favorite episode, I won't spoil. You have to see it for is it's in the later part of the first half. It's really cute.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's sad. I'm not saying it's the best thing ever, but still, it's worthy viewing.
Well, like you said, it's a lot of these characters resonate with you in a way that you weren't expecting.
I was definitely not expecting that because we're catching up with 2021 as it is with the great anime. This one is not in my top 10. Tonally, it's all over the place, and I kind of like some shows that do that, but this one particularly, I felt like it's too much.
Well, I was fine with it. I was fine with it tonally because it manages to do a very difficult thing that some anime don't manage to do.
Oh, yeah, similar to Odd Taxi, similar to that.
Well, it strikes a balance between its message and its dark and its light halves.
Yeah.
Because this is a messed up show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of messed up things that happen. They don't sit and dwell in it.
No.
You know,
and that's a good thing about it too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
They give you that sense of hope.
Yeah.
That sense of like struggle. They don't romanticize it. Which I'm glad too.
It's very blunt.
Yeah, which it would be very easy for this show to romanticize.
And also
and it doesn't.
And also to be very like dark and evil, almost like Berserk.
Well, like I said, it doesn't. It shows you what it is, and it doesn't dwell in it. The only place where it dwells in it is in Shin's mind.
Yeah.
And I think that works because it shows the weight of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the show is about. Even during those questionable issues, it's about the camaraderie and the struggle and the pride in defeating, and ending a war.
Yeah.
Not in continuing to fight a war, but in struggling to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
To struggling to find peace.
And that's pretty much 86. We can't recommend it enough. Yeah, this is
definitely a show to watch.
Yeah, and we thank you, the fans. We thank you, all those people mentioning this is the best show of the year. This is the best show of the year.
Yeah.
Special shout out to you.
Yeah, you got it into the top. You got it nominated into the category of top anime.
Like that was like the only one me and Edwin were not familiar with too,
Yeah.
and that shows how diverse it's becoming, especially a show like this. Because I would never watch a show like this years ago or even last year.
I would have when I was younger. This is a show that I think would have spoken to a younger me.
Yeah, I could see that, and especially like now I think of like this anime if it was debuted around Full Metal Panic or around Metal Gear Solid, also kind of like that cool militant kind of feel.
Well, you can tell that this show was definitely influenced by them.
Yeah.
There's Ghost in the Shell influences. There's Full Metal Panic influences.
Yeah. There's
a lot of that military, of course, because it's about war. Those shows are definitely shows of their time.
Yeah, and this show is of its time.
Yeah,
and
very much so.
And in 10 years from now, maybe it'll be kind of discussion because I think there's like a little bubble of it right now because like we said, this is the only way we found out about the show is when it was nominated for Best Anime.
Yeah.
So
well, I had heard of it, but the one of the difficult things about watching anime is that when you see a trailer for something and you haven't read the source material, you're not really familiar with what it's going to be. So you don't know what it's going to be like walking in. Like I love Full Metal Panic, but it walks a fine line between being a military show, but at the end of the day, it's a high school slice of life.
Yeah.
So there are moments of zaniness, which it manages to balance. There's none of that here in the 86.
None.
Yeah. So it's definitely a show worth your time. It's very relevant to the current situation that we're seeing ourselves in the world.
Unfortunately.
And where we'll end up. It's not over. There's still a few episodes, I think, to check out.
And that's the strongest message for 86. War ain't over.
Yeah. So definitely worth checking out. Yeah.
And thank you guys.
Thank you guys.